Morning, second graders. I don't know if it's morning when you're watching it, but I'm sitting here with my coffee. So let's go ahead and get started. Today we are going to be looking at our last presentation about butterflies and moths. Let's get it up. So again, here's our learning targets. I can identify the relationship between pollinators and fruits, flowers, and vegetables. So we're looking at butterflies and moths again. And we're looking at the plants that they feed on and the plants that they help to pollinate. So that's that relationship, right? They get food from the plants and they're also helping the plants. And by the end, we are going to be able to make a presentation. So our second learning target, we're researching information, we're reading to learn about pollinators so that we can teach somebody else. So next week is when we'll get to write down the information we want to present and actually make our own presentations. And again, we're looking at butterflies and moths, and here is the work we will be doing. So we actually saw this last week when we did wasps and flies. We did a worksheet where we wrote the name of the pollinator, one plant it pollinates, and an interesting fact that we learned. Before we look at, this is the text we're going to read. Before we look at it, we're going to look at some of the words that are in the text. What you might want to do is you might want to pull up Seesaw and find this slide, and then once I've explained what you need to do, you might want to pause this video, go into this text, and do what I'm asking you to do. Or you could watch this video straight through and then do the work on Seesaw. It's up to you, but make sure you're doing all parts of this assignment and not just the worksheet. So what I wanted you guys to find, I was looking at your Seesaw lessons with Mr. Wong, and I see that in reading, one of your sight words this week is the word 8. And I wanted to ask you guys, does that GH in 8 make a sound when you read it? No, it doesn't, right? So we wouldn't read it egg, right? That would just sound weird. When we read it, we just kind of skip over that GH. It's silent. So when I was starting to read this text that we're going to read today, I saw a word that had that same pattern. So what I would like for you to do, I want you to find the word that has that GHT pattern in the text. And then I want you to see if you can sound it out and figure out what word it is. So remember, if we don't read 8, egg, we're not going to read this word, gt, okay? So on the next slide, I want you to circle the word that has that GHT pattern in it, and then record yourself sounding out that word so that I know that you can figure out what word it is. And if you're not sure, do your best. I just want to see how you're sounding it out. And then when I read the text to you, you'll get the answer, okay? But please try it out on your own first and see if you can figure it out. So if you need to stop the video, you can stop it now and go to Seesaw and circle what you find in this text on one of the slides. Okay, we're also going to do some sound segmentation. So I know that some of your lessons for reading are also breaking up words into sounds. So there are 2 blue words that I'm going to ask you to sound out and break up all the parts of the word, okay? You also notice in this word, I see 2 small words in it. So I'm wondering if you can also, going into the next text, circle the 2 small words that you see in this big word right here. Once you sounded out these words in blue, and once you figured out what they are, go into the next slide and circle the words every time you see them. And then for this word that starts with an S, see if you can show me the 2 small words that you see in that big word, okay? So if you need to pause the video and go to Seesaw to work on this page, go ahead. If you want to do it at the end, we can keep moving on. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the title so we can figure out what we're reading about. So on Seesaw, there are 3 questions you're going to be answering for this title, which is Muchas gracias, butterflies and moths. I will read the questions to you, and then if you need to stop and go on Seesaw, you can, okay? So number 1 says, what does muchas gracias mean? Number 2 says, why should we say, say thank you to butterflies and moths? 3, Why do you think the author gave this text that title? So again, pause and do the work on Seesaw, or you can wait until the end. I'm going to go ahead and read this text, get this out of the way, so that we can answer those 3 questions on our worksheet. Muchas gracias, butterflies and moths. Sunflower. Sunflower seeds make a tasty snack. Butterflies and moths love sunflowers because sunflowers are big and bright. They come to eat nectar. Broccoli. This is the broccoli we eat. Did you know it is a flower? When the broccoli blooms, it has many small yellow flowers. I actually didn't know that broccoli was a flower. That's pretty cool. Okay, now it's your turn. On Seesaw, you're going to write the name of the pollinators we studied, 1 plant that they help, and an interesting fact that you learned. And if you have any questions, please feel free. You can ask me for help, okay?